Anthony Picente, the county executive, standing by right now. Good morning, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Okay, I will tell you that with a couple of topics we want to hit on, but let's start with how in the hell did we get looked over when it comes to drones with so much work that's already been done up there?
Well, that's the $64 million question, really. I don't know. It really is. I quoted John Kakko in my letter that he said it was confounding. I mean, it really is. There's really no explanation. I mean, there's really no other explanation other than, I don't know if it's politics. I don't know if it's just I don't know what it is. But there's no reason. Ben, when you look at the merits, I mean, this is another no-brainer. I mean, we've invested more than any other site. We've advanced more than any other site, and it's not taking anything away from the others. They're all great locations and have invested as well, but we're so far ahead, and we've been doing so much more, and you just have to wonder what happened here.
I had a theory.
Go ahead.
I love my theories. My theory was that when this first came out, I'm like, okay, it's not going to stand. And it's going to be a bone that the president threw to Congresswoman Tenney. So the Congresswoman is going to come in, and she's going to save the day.
Is that your theory?
That was the theory, but she's been silent on it.
What's she waiting for?
She's been silent on it. I mean, now would be the time to do it.
Yeah, it would. But it is really. It's really very, very confusing. But the interesting thing is, on the federal side, we hear from when we get something. I mean, everybody rushes to put out a release. It comes from the Senate. It comes from the Congress. It comes from everything. When we don't win something, everybody's silent, except in this case, I have to say, John Kakko has been very, very strong on this and very, very much a leader.
I do think Schumer was on it as well. But still, listen, it is egregious. I don't know why I'm using that word a lot these days, but there's a lot of stuff that how else are you going to describe it? That you would ignore all of the progress that has been made up there at Grffiss.
And I said yesterday too that the president is still from New York, so you would think that there'd be some look at what's happening here. And,
and he spoke there too.
Yeah, right.
Manansky.
I don't want to be a conspiracy nut, but I was thinking the same thing politically. It's like the state using all that money to invest and make the site ready, and I'm wondering if Trump's saying Cuomo's running against me, I'm not rewarding a plan you came up with. I wondered, and the same thing, right? The corridors between Syracuse and Rome, right? That corridor that had been established, and I almost wonder, with Syracuse being a sanctuary city, if he's just saying, no, I'm staying out of there. You're not getting it.
Yeah, I don't know.
However, upstate carried Trump. I mean,
it did. It did, and that's why it's puzzling. But it really goes back to what are they looking at, and who's who's watching this stuff.
All right. We now know we're all upset about it. Any hope of?
Well, I know we have an appeal process, and we're going through that. We talked with our partners in New Era and with Center State, and we will be doing that. And there's more. I mean, we just have to keep being aggressive. There's more of these applications coming down, but this one really was a big one, and we're not going to let it go. We're going to appeal it. We think our case is strong, and we'll move forward. So we'll have to keep the pressure on and keep telling the story. All
right, I want to dig into the issue of prohibition, just because we were talking about it, and the Supreme Court decision to lift any potential prohibition on sports betting.
Sportsbook.
So now it looks like the Oneida Nation is going to move forward. I don't think I think they can move quicker than anybody because they don't need New York legislation in order to do it. But the question would be, when they start taking betting, does any of that get shared with Oneida County?
No.
So, and I knew the answer to that.
But there's a couple things just to clarify.
Okay.
When gaming was put into legislation for the state, when the gaming referendum went into effect, it included sportsbook in that regulation. So the legislature doesn't need an action on this. What the legislature needs an action on, or what needs an action on this, first of all, is regulations from racing and wagering for the other casinos.
Right.
But because, like you said, the Oneidas really can wait for that, or they can move forward.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other legislation that's in there from Bonasek has to deal with online and remote and doing it at OTB and different kiosks and things like that. So that's a little bit different. So it's not about legislation being enacted, and that's where that's where even the governor came out and said, I don't think the legislature has time. Well, they don't need time. They need to. It's all in racing and wagering to set up the legislation. So to the point of, do we get anything? No. What the benefit is, though, is you're going to establish, especially the way the Oneidas have done things, a whole other venue. It brings in more people. More people mean more tourists. More tourists mean more money. More money means more, other games that we do see revenue from.
Right.
And so, the ripple effect is what we look to.
And here was a take that I will credit Mike Galimi with from the other night. I was speaking to him as we were discussing this issue and said, if there was a downtown casino, you could then have the opportunity to negotiate new terms for that downtown casino. Is that correct?
It's not correct.
That is not correct.
That is not correct.
All right.
No. The settlement agreement that was reached between four parties of the state, the Oneidas, Madison and Oneida County are between those four, and it strictly deals with gaming. It had always taken into effect or into thought, table games and
Sure.
that were excluded from revenue sharing, and so sports really falls in that category.
So to be excluded from that.
Yeah, we would be, and look, it's not to the city. No, this is not about the city. The city has. The Oneidas have reached their settlement, and any negotiation of any further, if there were to be any changes in the settlement or in the process, would have to be with those four parties at the table.
Got it. However, do you feel because one of the things I found interesting is just the group of people I was talking to were people that were against the casino coming downtown.
But now on the sports book.
But now that there's sports book, they're saying, okay, maybe that. I could see that down at the auditorium.
Like an OTB equivalent?
Is it a game changer, you think?
I think it is, and I think it does lend to, some changes in at least the, thought process of that. I think that, the Oneidas would I don't think anybody would do a standalone, because I don't think that would. Right. Just a sports book alone. I don't think that's, again, I can't speak for them on their process, but I wouldn't think that would be beneficial. I think they would look at the whole package still, at least to some extent, like they have at Yellow Brick Road and at Point Place over in Bridgeport. So, but I do think it's a game changer. I do think it can, really, be a part of, other aspects, and maybe it changes people's minds.
So you'll probably remember this. I actually had said to you off the air one day when you were in, I said, I'm not big on the slots, but, if you could get a sports book in downtown. Sure. But my angle was that it would be unique and it would be something you could just find there. With this ruling, it kind of opens it up where it's not something that would be unique to Utica or the Turning Stone. And I'm also hearing a lot of it could be done, and this is to be determined, but a lot of it's going to be done with mobile, like on apps, where you could just do it right on your phone.
That's what the legislation is about, though, too. That's the difference on some of that. I mean, and I know that they've got to look at legislation to allow that aspect of it.
Yeah.
The what's in the regulations on gaming is about sports book at casinos right now. So, and then, what they can do independently is something online or whatever, but again, it would have to be developed a little bit more in terms of legislation on whether it's because they're looking at whether they could do it at OTBs, at Vernon Downs, at the other racinos or casinos that are, the horse racing establishments, any other places. That kind of opens it up a little bit more.
Well, we keep hearing about the billions of dollars that go out overseas in app and internet gambling.
Well, if you've ever been, the internet gambling, but if you've ever been to Las Vegas and seen what those sports book areas in the various casinos, garner, and the attention and the number of people, and and what that does, this does change, and especially when New Jersey now, on board, the New York casinos are going to have to catch up.
Yeah.
And for the four that are losing money, this has got to be, or not, they're losing money. They're not meeting their projections. This might be something that
sure
helps them.
I won $100 on Tuesday night from the Utica School Board election. I won $100, and then they took it away from me yesterday.
And they took it away.
I can't even believe it. Now I got to wait until next week. This is terrible.
You got to wait. Now you got to wait.
They should have insurance for that.
Is it in escrow? Is that what they did?
Yeah, they did. Mr. Hopike is in studio right now. I'll have to ask what the story is on that.
It's in his escrow, or whatever.
All right. Anything else you want to add on this stuff? Obviously, it's an interesting time. This whole sports betting thing is very interesting.
It is, and we'll see. We have to see where it goes. But I expect, as you said, the Oneidas. Look, they've been ahead of the curve on all of this. They've been doing it, and they've been waiting for this. So we'll see what happens.
All right, Oneida County Executive Anthony Picente. Thanks so much. We appreciate it. All right.
Talking to you.
Have a great day.